Hello, good afternoon. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your questions. I'm also here to talk to you about the latest good news that we've gotten. And I'm going to talk about the T visa approval that we got yesterday. So if you joined me yesterday, you saw how excited I was about I had a hunch it was a T visa, but I got confirmation yesterday when it finally came on my desk. And we got a T visa approval as well as VAWA approvals. So I want to talk to you about those cases because I think a lot of it, actually, I don't think, I know that you are here watching me, you're going through the same thing. And by explaining to you what these cases look like, you too can understand how much we can help you. So we got the latest T visa approval, and I want to talk to you about what that case looks like. So T visas are for victims of trafficking. And you'll hear me say this all the time. If you follow me, you know what I'm going to say next. So, trafficking comes in different forms. And this is an exact example of how it comes, the form that it can come in, or the different forms that it can come in. When we think trafficking in the media, we think about, you know, someone being kidnapped, somebody being physically restrained, someone who is locked away, unable to physically leave the situation. You know, where they're kidnapped and then used. Usually, the misconception is that trafficking only involves sex trafficking, and that's because it is the type of trafficking that is most covered in the media. However, the definition of trafficking is extensive, and it does come in two forms, two major forms: sex trafficking and labor trafficking. And keep in mind, those can be broken down into all sorts of different scenarios. So, in this particular, the latest case that we've won, our client was here with someone who that she knew. She knew this person intimately and thought that she could trust them. They offered her a place to stay to just come and do some work here in the US, not their work. However, when she arrived, thinking she could use this person's place as a place to, like a launching board, to go out and find work for herself and to help herself while she's here. Instead, it turned into a situation where she was kept there, not kept hostage. She could leave, but told that the only way she could stay there is if she provided them with the money from her work. She also had to do work around the home that she was not prepared to do. She was not told she had to do that without any pay. And in addition to that, she was also lured to do other acts, or there was an attempt against her to do acts against her will. So in that situation, it is a form of trafficking. And this fits squarely within the USCIS policy manual regarding what trafficking is. So, yes, in this case, she knew the person, she had a history with the person, and yet still it falls within the definition of trafficking, not because um, and this fits within the definition of trafficking because this person forced her to do things she did not want to do, forced her to do work, forced her to give money. When she worked, she had to give over the money that she worked, right? So this is an example of, this is what makes the trafficking. They're not looking at whether they knew each other, whether they didn't know each other, whether the person physically restrained the victim here, the immigrant. They're looking at the acts of one party, the trafficker, towards the other. It doesn't matter if they knew each other for a long time, if they were friends, if they were intimate partners, if they were strangers, if they're landlord or a tenant. It doesn't matter necessarily about the relationship. What matters is, what did that one person force the other person to do against their will? And against their will isn't where they forcefully, they physically force them to do anything. It could be they use coercive tactics, they use mind games, they use manipulation to get them, to force them into that situation where they felt they had to do whatever acts they did. So, for example, if you don't do this, you're going to be out on the streets. I'm going to put you out on the streets. If you don't wash my clothes, you're going to be out on the streets. If you don't clean the house, you're going to be out on the streets. Or it could be even as severe, even though such threats aren't a requirement, but it could be so severe that they say, if you don't do this, I'm going to call immigration. Or if you don't do this, you're gonna be out on the streets and ICE is gonna get you, or the police is gonna get you, or I'm gonna call the police. So those are types of mind games that they play. They don't necessarily have to physically force somebody to do the acts, but they play these mind games with the person. And sometimes these are serious threats. Of course, these are serious threats. And it invokes fear for my immigrant clients. It invokes the fear in them that forces them to do whatever acts that they have to do in order to avoid those bad consequences. So, I want you to make sure, if you're going through something like this, it doesn't matter who the person is. If a person is doing this to you, and you would like relief, you'd like to get your papers, get empowerment, because this has served as empowerment for my clients to be able to rise up above this oppression, to escape the situation, to heal if they've moved on already, but this happened 10 years ago to them here. They're ready to move forward and heal and get their papers. Then this T status is what allows them to move forward. So I'm very, very happy for my client who we've another life has been changed, and we are doing this for many clients. We've gotten many approvals and we're moving forward with many clients to make sure that they get the same results that our client just got yesterday. So I'm excited for the future to come. And I want to let you know, and these instances are more common than you know. I know, for example, a lot of my fellow Jamaicans, a lot of my fellow Caribbean people who come here. You go through this. You go through this with family members. You go through this with employers. You go through this with even acquaintances that you think they're going to do right by you, and it turns out they even intimate partners do this to you, right? So this is where I leave it to you. I'm giving you the information that you need to find the solution, because not a lot of attorneys are talking about this form of relief, and not a lot of attorneys screen for it. I do. And it is often a form of relief that is a last resort, and it turns out really well for our clients. Now, what's going to happen after? Now that my client has T status, what does that mean? We got the approval, so work permit is next. It just comes. They also get the ability to, they can always, this is not required, but it's optional, where they can reach out to a case, they call like a case manager, who can assist them to be able to get further assistance. So if you need public assistance in the meantime to get your life going, to get going with, say, food assistance, housing, medical, or even educational needs, the case manager is there to guide my clients from there with these kinds of assistance. Now, with the work permit, you can get your Social Security. You just go down to the Social Security office if they don't already send the Social Security number, and go get your Social Security number. Within 2 weeks, you'll get it in the mail. And then from there, you can live and work anywhere in the United States. International travel is not automatic. It is something, though, that you can apply for. A travel document to go if you want to go and visit other countries outside of the US. A travel document is possible with a T status. So it is very flexible, and it allows one to carry on with a normal life here in the US. The one of the biggest rewards of the T status is the ability to go for your green card. So you do get to apply for your green card. You can apply early, or you can apply at the 3 year mark after having T status, because T status is for 4 years. So at the 3 year mark, you can apply for adjustment of status. And then after you get the green card, citizenship. So this is actually a path to citizenship. So it is a very rewarding type of benefit, immigration benefit, to those who didn't have any hope, didn't think that they had the option to get this status here, to get their papers, and we're helping many people to do it. So that is an example of a case. I mean, we have different scenarios, but I just wanted to show you how different cases of trafficking can be. You can go live with a friend, and that friend turns out to force you to do things against your will that then turns out to be trafficking. And this, one of the things why it's important for me to educate you is because a lot of people are going through this and they don't realize that they are actually being trafficked. They don't realize it. And because of that, they don't understand the power that they have to escape the situation. They think they have to stay in it. They have to put up with the mistreatment. They have to put up with the threats, and they have to stay in harm's way with an individual that's not trustworthy for them, not trustworthy for their safety or their well-being. I'm here to tell you it can be different, and we are making that different for our clients. All right. So, can you move to Puerto Rico to live if you get T status? So, the Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, so I don't see why not. When you go to Puerto Rico, it's not seen as traveling outside of the U.S. So, yes, you can live in Puerto Rico when you get T status, absolutely. But just do not go outside of Puerto Rico. That's where you want to make sure that you don't, if you are going to leave the US territory, leave the US, you need to make sure you have your travel document. All right. Now for VAWA. Did you know that VAWA allows you to apply not only spouses? So we talk a lot about VAWA in the sense of a spouse, immigrant spouse needing to apply for their green card without a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse. But did you know that there are also children and stepchildren of U.S. citizens that qualify for VAWA as well, to apply for their own green card without involving the parent or the step parent? We don't talk about it often, but that was one of the approvals. That's the latest approval that we've gotten, is stepchild of a U.S. citizen. And in this case, now with stepchildren and stepchildren, there are specific rules. So usually to apply for VAWA, you have to be under 21, or if you've passed 21, you can't reach the age of 25. So you're up to the age of 25, right? Or right before you turn 25, you have the chance to apply for this. It's considered a late filing, But if you can show that, for example, the delay to apply for the VAWA is related to the mistreatment of by the step parent or the parent, then they will allow you to move forward with the VAWA process. So it is, I often say, under 21 or under 25 to apply for VAWA, under 25 under certain circumstances. So we just got the approval in the case of a step child who was mistreated by a U.S. citizen. So if you're in a situation where you're being mistreated by a U.S. citizen, or a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident parent, then just know that there is this option here available. Now, when I say mistreatment, I don't keep in mind mistreatment is broadly defined. It does not just involve physical violence. That is included, but this is not required. It could be mental, it could be verbal, it could be emotional, it could even be financial, right? So if you're experiencing a situation like that, whether you're the spouse of a U.S. citizen or resident, you're the son or daughter of a U.S. citizen or resident, then VAWA is a possible option here. But that's another thing. Say you've reached 25, right? And then you were mistreated by your parent. You lived with your parent, and your parents started to force you to do errands around the house, force you to do things that you did not sign up to do, but now they're threatening you, they're abusive towards you, whether emotionally or even physically. Then in that case, the T status once again is an option here. So just keep in mind that even though you may not fall within the criteria to apply for VAWA, you can still apply for possible T status if you fit within that criteria. So this is where the consultation is very important, in that sometimes the T visa serves as an alternative form of relief where you cannot qualify for VAWA, or you can't qualify for any other types of relief. All right. So now that I have told you about the approvals that we've gotten this week, I want to hear from you. I want to get your questions. I see questions coming in, and I really enjoy seeing those questions. So I'm going to go ahead and just scroll through on TikTok first and then work my way around. What refused for administrative processing, but your visa was approved but waiting on medical? So I'm not sure there, it's either one or the other. You're either refused or you're approved. Maybe you saw that it was in administrative processing, which means sort of that it's in limbo. It's like they're waiting on something, they're looking into something. And then you got approved. But they will not approve it without the medical. So in one case it did say administrative processing for 4 days until they received the medical. They were waiting on the medical to come, so they put it in administrative processing. And as soon as they got the medical within a few days, they changed it to approve. So it sounds similar. What you said sounds pretty similar. Can a dependent pending asylum advance parole to home country, and how long? So you'll always, with asylum, getting advance parole while it's pending, I would just say it's very risky, and you have to be aware of those risks. Make sure you're talking to your attorney about it. What is the prima facie? So the prima facie within VAWA, it sounds like you may be applying for VAWA, is where they've done a preliminary review of your VAWA application, and they said, okay, if everything was true today, you would have met all the requirements to qualify for VAWA, to be approved for VAWA. However, they want to make sure that they do a detailed review before they give you an official approval. So what they do is they move it along for final review. And in the meantime, they'll issue a prima facie letter. That prima facie letter allows you to, in some states, it depends on what state you're in. Like, for example, in Florida, you can get your driver's license. In certain states, you can get additional benefits like food assistance, maybe even housing. So you're able to use that prima facie to move forward with your life and get assistance in some respects while you're waiting for either your work permit to come through or approval or the approval of the VAWA. My husband has been approved from NVC, waiting for interview. How long for an interview? So right now I've seen it go from a year and a half to 2 years. So it's really frustratingly long right now. Can dependent pending asylum? So I answered that. You can, even if you guys are divorced, but it cannot be more than 2 years. So that's, I believe you're referring to VAWA here. So you're right. Whenever you qualify for VAWA, if you're divorced, you can apply for up to 2 years after the divorce was finalized. What if they're over 21? So I think we're talking here about the VAWA situation. So if they haven't reached 24, then they're still 25. If they haven't reached 25, there is still the possibility to apply for VAWA should they qualify. This is where the consultation is very important. Can your spouse file for you when they get arrested? Yes, they can. However, if they're convicted for an offense that involved a minor, that could fall under what's called the Adam Walsh Act. And that can sometimes prohibit the petitioner from moving forward with filing for an immigrant. Okay, anybody in here know how to get in touch with me? Yes, absolutely. If you scroll to the top of this this comment section, you'll see my phone number. You can call there or go to the link in the profile. You'll see the website. You'll see the button to schedule your own appointment. Go ahead and schedule. Good afternoon. If daughter's interview visa approved, but pending. Good afternoon. If my daughter's interview visa approved, but medical pending. Okay, so I answered that already. So yeah, so they're just waiting on the medical. Once the medical comes, then it should be okay. If someone is pregnant, have to do the medical, but can't take a live vaccine, can do the medical. So in that case, the doctor will issue what's called a blanket waiver that says at the time you did your medical, you were pregnant, so you're exempt. So the doctor will determine whether you're exempt and then state that at the time you could not take the vaccine. And that tends to allow you to pass the medical. So still go through the medical, and the doctor will definitely put in the records, and make sure you just run that by the doctor as well, that they're going to put that it's a blanket waiver because of your pregnancy. I have a green card and I would like to make my brothers and sisters travel. How do I do that? So you can't petition for brothers and sisters as a green card holder, unfortunately. And you really have very little control over whether they can get a visa. You can always write an invitation letter to show the reason they're traveling, but they're still going to have to show that they qualify for the visitor's visa. How long does U visa take if your immigration court was closed? So U visa takes 7 to 10 years, but you can get the work permit and Social Security in the meantime while you wait at about the year and a half to 2 year mark. What's the price of the consultation? $150. We still need to apply for I-601 for vaccine exemption on religious basis. Yes. Now, with a vaccine, you have to show that you either belong to a religion that, prevents you from getting the vaccine, or you have a strong moral conviction against all vaccines. So you can't just pick and choose for the exemption. You can't pick and choose which vaccine you are against and which ones you want. You have to show that you are against all vaccines. So, in explaining your position, you have to be very clear on that point. How do I get in contact with you? Go to the link in the profile. You'll see everything you need to get in touch. Which visa can a green card holder petition for his fiance and children? So you have to go with what's called the F2A category. Now, keep in mind, fiance, there's no category for fiance. You have to get married and then petition for your spouse and children. If you have I-360 and I-485 pending with approved travel document, is it safe to leave the country? I usually answer this on a case-by-case basis for my clients because I know my client's case is the best. So this is where we look at the risk factors involved and then advise, on that. How can I apply for legal status? There are multiple ways. This is where the consultation is very important. I received a 10-year visa instead of 2. Marriage was only 13 months upon arrival to the US. What to do? Yeah, so in this case, you probably have to point out the correction, and the reason being, if you don't do that, it might be a problem when you're applying for citizenship. So just point out to USCIS that there's an error on the card. So there's a specific I-90 form where you can apply for corrections. This correction is not your fault. It's a correction of the immigration service. So it's usually free, but you'll have to apply for them to make the correction. With a T visa, can a person travel out of the USA? Yes, they can with a travel document. You have to apply for a travel document, and then it depends on the reason you're traveling out of the country. I just say be very cautious about traveling. You can travel, but be very cautious about traveling because it may have a negative impact on your application, but they are allowing you to travel. How do I get in contact with you? So I answered that. Go to the link in the profile. I received 10-year visa, so I answered that. All right. So if you scroll to the top of the comment section, by the way, you'll see the phone number at the top of the screen. Now, here's another way you can get in touch, by the way, on TikTok. So this is only on TikTok. I'm coming over to the rest of the platform soon. But on TikTok, they have a really nifty feature here, and it's get the form. So I'm going to add, let me see if I can add it. So pin. So here it's timed every 30 seconds. You can fill out a short form, and then we can, with your information, and then the office, I'll pass this on to the office and they will get in touch with you and to schedule time for us to talk on the calendar. Now it's me and attorney Bria who work very closely together. So always feel free to go to the link in the profile. You can see my schedule. You can see attorney Bria's schedule and book your time. And it's on the screen again. So I'm putting it on the screen again so you can fill it out. So it only gives 30 seconds and I'll put it up one more time. Fill out your information if you're interested in getting a call from us to talk further about how we can assist you, and we'll give you a call back. So go ahead, do that now. 8 seconds, 6, 5, 4, and I'll go ahead and post that again. All right, so let's go on here. Again, so I'm going to post the form again, and then I'm going to answer some more questions here on YouTube. Hello. Yes, I can't wait to give the good news. My husband and my son are derivatives. Will they need to do a medical upon approval of the case? No, they don't have to do a medical. No medicals are required for this. The medical will be required when you're all together and when you are ready to apply for your green card together. So that's where the medical is going to come in, which is going to be all good stuff. Please, I have my work permit. What date my green card interview? So wouldn't be able to tell you a date. Maybe you might not get your interview. You might get it waived and get that green card in the mail. So, it's hard to say. I usually see the interview within 8 months if they're going to schedule an interview. Do you need an interview to get 10-year green card after 2-year expired marriage base? So they are waiving those. If they have questions, though, they will schedule the interview. What do you know about final rule for the visa T? So they're making changes, and those involve um, regarding law enforcement reporting, who can sign off on T certifications. So, for example, immigration judges can sign off on it now. So they have different individuals that can. They've made changes to make clear that travel is now permitted. So the changes are exciting. It makes it more flexible. So they've changed certain definitions regarding certain criteria, whether or not they will disqualify you if you left and then you're coming back. So they've made those rules a little more flexible. So they won't automatically deny you if, say, you had to leave the country and then you're returning. They won't. Before, that would have broken what's called continuous presence for the purposes of T status, but they're a lot more flexible on that as well. If I got approved already almost a year ago with T, can I apply for traveling documents now? Yes, you can apply for the travel document, but keep in mind that you should definitely consult your attorney. Your attorney knows your case best, and it depends on where you're traveling to and the purpose of your travel, because a part of the application process is that you do have to show if you return to your home country, you'll experience extreme hardship. And so, if any travel to your country is going to contradict anything that you stated in your application, that can have negative repercussions on your application, right? On your T status. So, it's not to say you can't travel to your home country or you can't travel at all. You can travel, but you want to make sure that just like no case is the same, immigration may be fine with one case where they're traveling and may have questions for somebody else that's traveling. And so you want to make sure that you look at all the risk factors involved before traveling. All right. So let me go back here. And hello on Instagram. Let me go. I'm going to the top. I'm going to answer some questions. How long does the FBI take to send USCIS the result for your biometrics? So usually, this is usually an internal process, but it can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 months for them to get it back. What does administrative review mean for E3 visa? So administrative review, sometimes it means that the application is in limbo. There may be something that has come up that now they're looking into. And usually it does mean processing times are going to be uncertain. Because they teach us the broad types, because they don't teach us the broad types of trafficking. You're right, child of God, Mackie, that's right. We hear about only a narrow view of what trafficking is in the media, but it is broad. And so this is one of the reasons why I do this, is I want to make sure that you understand your rights, you understand, that what is happening to you as an immigrant is not. If you're being oppressed, you're being threatened, you're being underpaid, you're being deprived of your pay is being shorted, those are also signs of trafficking. And you don't have to put up with it. You have rights as well. And this is what opens the door for T status. If I came into the US with K1 visa, married my US citizen spouse, but has refused to file my adjustment of status, can I file VAWA? Yes, you can. You can qualify for VAWA. Absolutely. So make sure you look out for your own interests. Definitely give us a call. This is exactly what we do. Now, one thing I do want to say is that if you come in on a K1, you don't marry the person that you were engaged to, and then you marry somebody else, big mistake. They will not allow you to move forward with it. So be very careful. And that also applies to VAWA. If you came here with a K1, you got with someone else, you married someone else other than the person who sponsored you on the K1, and then that person mistreats you, you cannot apply for adjustment of status through the VAWA. So keep that in mind. My mom's a citizen. I'm over 21 years and unmarried. Okay, so that's a 5 to 7 year process. And if you're out of status, you will not be able to go through adjustment of status. But it's 5 to 7 years for that through the petitioning process. How long would it take to get a travel document? It depends. So I've seen anywhere from 3 months to a year. If it's an emergency document and they approve it on the emergency expedite, then about a month. How can someone obtain a green card after overstaying on a visitor's visa? So there are multiple ways, and this is exactly what I help my clients to do. But we need to talk to you about your facts to determine how. You can't just pick up a green card application after overstaying, but there are certain maybe facts, certain relationships that you have, or some things that you've been through that can allow you to get onto the path to get your green card. Can you get VAWA if your wife mistreated you? Absolutely. Yes, that's what it's there for. Can I get H-2B visa without a job offer? So usually not. You have to have an employer sponsor you for the H-2B. Do you do asylum cases? Absolutely, yes. Give us a call. We determine whether you qualify and then move forward. I got my SSN and EAD, but not travel document, neither approving I-130. When should I get them, do you think? So the travel document, I have seen where they've separated it. The travel document usually comes later. It could take up to a year. They usually prioritize the SSN and the employment authorization because they feel the most valuable thing is to get people working and making sure that they are able to work. And so the travel document takes the back burner here. So I've seen situations where the EAD was approved, travel document was still pending, and then the green card came afterwards. So nobody cared about the travel document anyway. How long for T visa approval? About a year. So it could be anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, but it's about a year. Is it necessary to take the COVID-19 vaccine in order to get your green card? Yes. Right now, they're still making it required. My son's work permit is expired, but his father and his stepmom are in the middle of a divorce. He's 19. Can he get a renewal? So if his stepmother is continuing to petition for him, then he can renew it as long as the adjustment of status application that the work permit is based on wasn't canceled by the stepmother. Does a derivative get their EAD to same time when T visa is approved? So, yes, we have to submit a work permit application for the derivatives at the same time we're applying. The main applicant does not need the work permit application, but derivatives do. So we just submit everything at one time. My wife doesn't want to give me receipt number to see my case status. Can I retrieve this information on my own? First of all, if your spouse is doing that to you, you need to definitely look into VAWA here. Because if they're doing that, then that means that they're capable of doing a lot of bad things during the process. So they can sneak and cancel your process right on, without you knowing. They can sabotage your process. They will continue to threaten you throughout the process. Actually, this is even something that I see in T visa cases where they're withholding your documents, withholding your information so you can't gain control and empowerment of your own process. But in your case, if your wife is a US citizen or a resident, then you can apply for VAWA. And that way, guess what will happen? They will never inform the spouse that you've switched processes. Your spouse will sit there and continue to think that they're controlling the process. And then your process will move forward separately in complete confidence. You can move forward with knowing your case, having full access to your case files, and getting your work permit and your green card, all without that spouse being involved. And in this case, where they're hiding your information, it usually doesn't end well. So make sure you get on it. If you have a medical condition, will that allow you to get some benefits? So no, it really depends state by state. Some states do have a very liberal policy to give medical assistance and public benefits for medical assistance, but on a federal level, like a national level, no, not automatically. You'd have to check with the state on that. How many months earliest that your client has gotten his or her T visa? So 9 months is about the earliest time. How long does the FBI take to send USCIS your biometrics results after doing it? I got cut off, so I'm not sure if you have answered. Oh, so 2 weeks to 4 months. Hi, good afternoon. What is an affidavit for a T visa? So we do a declaration. Hi there. Thanks. You are welcome. What's the fee for the consultation? It is $150. I got approved for I-485 marriage based. Congratulations. Sounds like you got approved without even an interview. So, good news. How long after your divorce can you apply for citizenship? I was married for 6 years, but my husband has since remarried. So, 5 years. If you're divorced, after you got your green card, 5 years. You'd have to be a permanent resident for 5 years. Elaine, well, we're looking forward to him. We'll look out for him. Now we have staff that are ready and willing to help. So if you don't want if you want to talk to a staff member before, go to the link in the profile. You will see the link to talk to someone to help you to get on the calendar. It's a busy time, and the calendar is filling up. So make sure that you check out the calendar to schedule your appointment or call the office ASAP. I'm going to go ahead on TikTok. I'm going to put that form on one more time. If you'd like to go ahead, fill out the form, go ahead, do that right now. Usually gives you a short time to fill it out. Fill it out, and then we'll give you a call back. How long after biometrics do you get approval for T visa? So I've seen a very curious thing happening. This was happening late last year, where the biometrics came late. The biometrics came like 9 months after we filed it, and then about a month after the biometrics, we got approvals. It's going back though to the original way that I noticed before, where the biometrics comes very soon after applying, usually comes within 6 weeks, a month to 6 weeks after applying. And then after that, then we could anticipate maybe another 10 months afterwards to get the decision. So I've been seeing it changing, but lately, since around January, I've seen it change back to where after the biometrics, maybe another 10 months. My VAWA application was accepted a month ago. How long will it take to get a work permit issued? As long as you applied for your adjustment of status, then you could be looking at anywhere from 8 to 12 months. But they're coming faster. So we have been renewing work permits for our clients, and we're noticing that they're coming much faster. So that's good news. So we could be seeing faster work permits now. So they could go back to maybe 3 to 6 months time getting the work permits. That would be great. I mean, it's always good if we could get it within a month. I remember those days. But even to have it down to 3 months at this point, while working their way to shorter processing times would be even better. But I am noticing that they're coming in a shorter time. Child of God, Mackie, you are welcome. Always welcome. All right. Thanks so much for your time. So 2 days in a row I was able to come on and talk to you. So I'm really hoping I can keep this streak going and then get back to the normal lunchtime. But I'm really proud of myself that I was able to make it today. And I always enjoy your questions. So thanks for your questions. Please keep showing up and keep asking your questions, because we all learn from your questions and the answers. And I learn from you too. So please continue to show up, follow me, subscribe. You'll see when I go live and you can join me. And then I'll let you know once I'm on the regular schedule again. I'll definitely let you know, which was 12:30. So I'm working my way back to that regular time. Have a great one, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Remember, call us, schedule your appointment. We're here to help. Bye-bye.